Well, hello there. This is one of the Down Syndrome Association Conversations for Down Syndrome Awareness Week. I'm Sally Phillips. This is who are you?
I am Oliver Majo.
Oliver Majo, my son Oliver Majo. And with me, well, with us, we are thrilled to have Manni and Reuben Coe, authors of the smash hit book, Brother, Do You Love Me? Which people are calling... oh, there it is. Is that the paperback?
This is the hardback still.
That's the hardback copy, and the paperback's just come out, hasn't it? And they've written this together, Ollie.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. Manni and Reuben, would you tell us what it's about for those people who haven't come across the book?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Lovely to be with you. Lovely to be with you, Sally and Ollie. What's the book called, Rubes? Brother, Do You Love Me? And what was that? Where did that title come from? On a phone. So Ollie and everybody listening, Sal knows this story, but Reuben sent me a text message. He really wasn't in a very good place, were you, Rubes? He was in a care home and he wasn't enjoying life, and he was separated from all of his family because of the awful pandemic. And yeah, we thought he was okay, Ollie. I thought he was okay. I'd been to see him, but he wasn't okay. And Reuben was very brave. And all of a sudden, he sends me this text message, and it just said, "Brother, do you love me?"
Because Manni is Reuben's older brother.
Mm.
And that must have been an awful thing to receive.
Yeah, it was the worst text message I've ever received, I think.
And you were in another country in another country during a pandemic, miles away from Reuben, and you thought he was okay.
Yeah, the care home kept telling us that he was okay. I knew he wasn't at his best, but I just didn't realize how bad he was. Reuben very rarely, you don't really ask for much, do you, Reuben? You're not very demanding. Very happy little guy, always has been. So that message, "Brother, do you love me?" I think came from a very dark place. Came from a very worrying place. And I knew straight away that Rubes was not okay.
Yeah.
Because he knows I love him. It wasn't a question. There was no question mark. And it was almost as if he was saying, "Help, come and get me." So that's what I did. I left Spain and I got on a plane and I rescued Reuben from a care home. And in the middle of the pandemic, when we weren't supposed to be anywhere or meeting with people, we came to this house in Dorset in the countryside. And how long did we spend here together, Rubes? A long time or a short time? 26 weeks. 26 weeks, just Rubes and I.
Wow.
Yeah, in a house together. And Rubes was not talking, Ollie. He was so sad at this point that he stopped talking.
Yeah.
And you've got brothers, haven't you, Ollie?
I have.
And you love hanging out with them.
Yeah. I do, because sometimes they're quite annoying sometimes. So I do spend time with them.
Good.
That's the main thing.
Well, we annoy each other, don't we, Rubes? Yes, we do. We're brothers. Brothers fight. Brothers love each other, but they fight. That's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just some people. Ignore people sometimes, and the people who love someone loves of people.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
And what happened?
So Reuben got in touch with you. Reuben, do you know why you texted Manni? Because have you got other relatives? Yes. But you knew Manni would come and get you. Yes.
I have a question.
Go on.
So, how long they lived in the house?
How long did they live in the house together?
Yeah. together?
Good question. Well, the thing is, Rubes used to live with me in Spain, Ollie, for
Yeah.
7 years. For 7 years, he lived with me and was very much part of our life every day. And then he had a bit of a problem. He had a bit of a breakdown.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit. So it was just one thing after another. He wasn't very happy. And then he went to stay in a care home that looked really good. And we thought Reuben was going to be happy there. And then COVID arrived and cut him off from us. So we weren't able to go and see him. And I think, did you think that we'd kind of forgotten about you, Rubes? No? Did you think we'd abandoned you? But you did feel sad. A bit. Yeah, bless him.
Yeah.
Bless him.
And also, what happened about the breakdown?
Reuben's breakdown. What was that like, Reuben?
Hand on the, is that the hand on the window?
Oh, yeah. He
Yeah,
was just
he-
looking out of the window.
Mm.
He stopped talking. He just put his hand on the window, looking out.
Ah,
He felt trapped. And how great that your
Yeah.
brother came to rescue you. But your book is there's quite a lot of family members written books about their children. But your book is really unusual because it's a mutual telling. You've told it together, and it's a mutual rescue in a way, isn't it? So being with Reuben for 26 weeks forced you to confront lots of things about yourself and your worldview as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. I talk about the symmetry of our brotherhood. And, you know, I've spent a lot of my time looking after Reuben, and he's spent a lot of his life looking after me. And we look after each other. And I think that's why this book is so unusual and so special for people to read, because it talks about that symmetry of brotherhood. That I need Rubes just as much as he needs me. He cares.
Because that's one of the things when you have your child with Down syndrome, people go, I feel sorry for the siblings, which is, you know, we both know is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But what exactly, what can you describe for us the riches of being a sibling of somebody like Reuben or someone like Ollie?
I mean, Ollie, I've never met you. I can't wait to meet you, buddy.
yeah.
Give you a big hug. And
Yeah.
you know, I heard from somebody recently who's just finished the book, and it helped. It reminded her of the magic of relationships with people like you, Ollie, and people like Rubes.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to describe. You can only live it. And this book attempts to explain what it is and why I love Reuben so much, why I love spending time with him so much. He's like a mirror to me. It's like gazing into yourself. If you're in a bad mood, then Rubes, without saying anything, will just let you know that you're in a bad mood. And when I'm looking after Rubes, it forces me to be the best version of myself I possibly can.
Yeah.
And this book talks about the struggle, because Rubes was not talking, Ollie. He didn't want to be with me, didn't really want to eat, didn't want to walk. He was depressed. You know, he was depressed. He was actually taking some pills to help him with his depression. So he was poorly. He was ill.
How did he go poorly?
Well, his mind got poorly.
Ah.
Because he was alone for so long and wasn't talking to people and wasn't getting hugs, wasn't having fun. No one was touching you, were they, Rubes? You weren't getting any hugs. And he was very, very isolated, Ollie. He was really alone. And when people are lonely, they become very sad.
Yeah.
And Reuben was so cut off from me and from everybody who loves him that he became very, very sad. So when I picked him up from the home, he was my brother, but it was almost like a broken version of my brother. He was broken.
Oh.
And I had to work out how to put him back together again.
Yeah.
And there was no manual, there was no book that I could read to help me. And those 26 weeks were really about Reuben and I learning how to love each other again. And Rubes had to learn to love me again, because I think he'd lost his trust in me a little bit. I'm his older brother, and I've always protected him, always looked after him, always tried to help him live his best life.
Yeah.
And I messed up. It wasn't my fault. You know, it was the pandemic. He'd had a breakdown. He'd become depressed. But I think in his eyes, I was his big brother, and he wasn't supposed to be in a place like that because I would always protect him. So I had to build a bridge. That's how I was talking about it to someone the other day. It was almost like Rubes and I have always been so close. And yet, when I picked him up, it was like this massive river had come between us. And I could see him on the other side of the river, but I couldn't reach him. Now, Rubes wasn't talking, but he was drawing. And this is something wonderful about the book, that the book is full of Reuben's art.
Yeah.
I love your art, and I love your art, Reuben. I've got badges of your art. They are great.
Yeah.
They are great. And it's such a great way of storytelling. Can you tell us a bit or show us how drawing helps you? Oh, yeah. That's Reuben's drawing.
Wow.
It's Aslan from Narnia, remember?
Oh, yeah.
We can't read what it's, or I can't read what it says there. Can you read out to us what the text says?
It says, "My heart belongs to you. Sleep well, brother. You raise me up, brother. Emotional for you."
Hmm.
And a big heart that says, "Love you" in the middle of
Ollie does a lot of hearts. Oh, that's lovely.
it. So why do you draw, Rubes? Well, why do you draw? He just does. He just does. He just loves drawing. We were on the train today from London, and he was drawing. I think he loves. I think it helps. Does it help relax you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's easier for Reuben to express himself with felt tip pens, Ollie, than it is by talking.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that?
No. I see that when I was a baby and I couldn't talk then, but now I'm grown up, so now I'm talking. But
Yeah.
I like doing arts, and there's some active things, the ones in my life.
Yeah.
So
We laugh because Ollie does a lot of hearts that look like bums. Ollie, I love Ollie's drawings. I always want him to do more because he's like a great designer because he does only as many lines as are necessary to convey the idea. So he did absolutely brilliant farting tiger. It's like a rectangle, a circle with stripes, and then a bang out of the back and a massive smile.
Reece? What's he like? How old are you, Ollie?
I'm 18.
You're 18. Do you know how old Reuben is?
No.
How old are you, Rubes? 39.
Oh my word!
Yeah, Rubes is 40 this year. So you're half his age, more than half his age.
Looking good, Rubes.
Yeah, looking good,
Looking
Reuben.
good. Good.
What's your secret? What's your secret? Lots of fresh air, good food, good sleep.
Yeah. And also, may I ask?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I am 10 years older than Rube, so I'm 50 next year.
Ah.
So when Reuben was born, I was 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Reuben's got a big brother.
Yeah.
Big brother.
Yeah.
Ollie's the eldest. Ollie's got 2 younger brothers.
Yeah. Ollie's got
So-
2 younger brothers.
Reuben, I mean, it's a fantastically affecting story. Well done, both of you. So I was also really struck by your recipe for living a happy life. Have you had enough?
No.
Okay, great. Recipe for living a happy life. What's the matter?
Again, dog.
You're getting a dog. Okay. Recipe for living a happy life. So you escaped, you brother napped Reuben, and you went to your cottage in Dorset, is it?
Yeah.
It's Billy.
Yeah, it's my dog.
Hi,
Yeah.
Willie. Oh, he's lovely.
Yeah. and you started on a program of bringing Reuben back. So Reuben had got sort of locked inside, and it must say Hayley Newman of Downside Up was supposed to be doing this interview, and she just found it very difficult to read your book because it's so frightening.
Yeah.
When you have younger children, the idea that our children would suffer, would have the kind of experience that you've had, Reuben, of being so lonely in assisted living. That's very Ollie, that's very painful for us to think about for our kids. But you brother napped him, you took him to the cottage, and together you embarked on a program for happiness, which worked, and it brought Reuben back. So what are your tips for living authentically, happily, and fully?
So can I? Yeah, amazing. Can I just do a little reading, Sally, so that we can?
That's a great idea.
We put it into perspective, because we called it a bro nap. When I rescued Rubes from the care home, I felt like James Bond, Ollie, rescuing my brother. It was like a rescue mission, and this was what happened when we drove away from the care home. I have a song prepared, one that he knows and loves. And as we approach the village, I press play so Josh Groban can burst "You Raise Me Up" out of the speakers over and over again.
Obviously, I love that song. I mean,
do you?
Yes, I do. And just like hear that song,
Yeah,
so many times in my life.
yeah, amazing. This is our song, Ollie. It's our torch song. It's the song that we send to each other when we're missing each other.
Yeah.
So I put it on in the car, and I turned up the volume. Reuben stretches forward to turn it down.
Yeah.
As we rise and fall along the village, I pretend to blow my nose with a hanky to disguise wiping my tears. I change down a gear, crawling along Anning's Lane. His small, pale hand clasps mine. It is a light touch, like a spacecraft landing on the moon. We have contact. Inside, I help him shed layers, raincoat, puffer, and as I reach to uncoil his scarf, there's a faint resistance, and then a fight in his eyes, a look of something wild that makes me feel uncomfortable. It's not that warm in the house. I only turned the heating on for a couple of hours before crashing last night. That's not why he wants to keep his scarf on. It protects him. All his layers do. Then Reuben looks at me, really stares inside. I look back and see him properly for the first time. It's still him, I think. He's still standing there, a full head and shoulders shorter than most men his age, with his soft edges and thick brown hair flat against his scalp. Before he lost his voice, it was impossible to guess what would come out next. If there are words inside, they won't come out today. But I'm determined to hold his gaze. I want him to see love and safety in my eyes. Reuben leans in and I take him in my arms, and that's when I hear it, or think I do, just one word, whispered and muffled by layers of scarf, 3 syllables, separated and staccatoed. Family.
Family.
Yeah.
Family. That's the first word Reuben said to me, was family. And that's what he'd been missing, wasn't it, Rubes? And he knew he was safe again. And I think, you know, Sally, what you were saying, it is a scary thing for parents who have children with Down syndrome. I'm sure they worry for their future, but part of the message of this book is that we don't want that to happen, that there are amazing opportunities for out there in the world. There are amazing people that can care for people like Reuben and Ollie if that need were ever to arise. I stepped in and rescued him as his brother, but Reuben is now back living in his own flat, Ollie. He's not living with me anymore. He's living in his own house.
Wow.
Yeah. Aren't you, Rubes? He lives in his own flat. Congratulations, Rubes.
Yeah. Congratulations, Rubes.
Yeah,
That's something you'd like one day, to live in your own house.
Yeah.
yeah.
I see that I've got a girlfriend.
You have?
Yeah, called Lucy,
Nice.
and she's 25 years old.
Quite a lot older.
Older woman.
Yeah. So we're planning on getting married next year.
Are you now?
Mom.
That's too young, isn't it? Reuben, what do you think? Do you think 19 is too young to get married? Yes. Listen to your senior. He says 19 is too young to get married. They proposed on the second date. That's too early, isn't it, Reuben?
It's a bit quick, Ollie. It's a bit quick. I'd get to know it just a little bit more.
Well, actually, some people get married older,
Okay.
and some people get married younger.
Let's get done.
Reuben says he doesn't want to have a relationship. Do you, Rubes? Why not? Just likes his family. But what do you say when we say, come on, you could find the love of your life? What do you say? Too much? Too much what? Too much? Hassle.
Too much hassle.
Too much hassle. Yeah, he says it's too much hassle. He's quite happy just being with his family.
Yeah.
You love your family very much, don't you? I noticed that Ollie, Ollie makes every family occasion significant.
Yeah.
Every birthday is like a massive deal. Your birthday, because of Ollie, your birthday is a massive deal. Like Ollie wakes up on the 1st of August and goes, it's my birthday. What's August?
The 25th.
You're the 25th, but what is the 1st of August? Your birthday month.
My birthday month.
We celebrate the whole month.
Hooray!
Birthday week, the celebrations intensify, culminating in at least one big day and several parties. But everyone else's birthday is really important as well. And I notice Ollie reminds me of the reason why we celebrate birthdays, which is, I'm glad you're alive.
Yeah.
Ollie, I feel like you've taught me so much, love, about what's important in life.
Amazing. And that's, we need to be reminded about that, don't we? And to celebrate it. And I think that's what spending time with someone like you, Ollie, and with Rubes, and I hope you guys can meet one day.
Yep.
When we're with people like you, we realize what's important in life. Because what's important to you? What's the most important thing for you, Ollie?
So what's important to me is my girlfriend and my family.
Yeah.
And my brothers.
Yeah.
It's just my only one.
That's it.
There you go. What's important to you, Rubes? What's the most important thing for you in life?
Is it cheesecake?
Is it chocolate milk?
Oh, we like chocolate milk.
What do you think it is? But you were talking, Sally, you were asking us about how we put each other back together again, and Rubes was referring to this, weren't you, Rubes? 5 things. What are the 5 things? How did we help you get better? What are the 5 things you did? Can you remember? Good food. Really important. Good food. Good. Fresh air.
Good food, fresh air.
Good food, fresh air. Good sleep.
Yeah.
Responsibilities.
Oh.
That's the one he doesn't like. And what's the big one? What's the last one? Love.
Love. Oh, but you left out the one that is almost more significant for me, is that it struck me that art played a really big part. So drawing and creative expression. And then you did Friday night musicals.
Yeah, we did.
And we do kitchen disco, don't we?
Yeah.
And Ollie does a lot of acting out Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
And dancing with Natty.
Yeah.
And does it, I think that really helps make us all, no, you don't like Mamma Mia?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that, well, I mean, of course I would think that, but the art played such a big part
Yeah,
in
yeah,
bonding you.
absolutely.
So the way
Every
you
single,
described the musicals, I can so see you,
yeah,
Matt. I can so see you there, like gradually getting sucked in to making costumes and getting involved and playing roles and zooming them back to your husband.
yeah.
Did the whole family turn up for the
Yeah, we did them. It was live streamed on Instagram Live,
Instagram Live?
and they're still there somewhere, buried in my Instagram account. But we did a series of different musicals. We started with Sister Act, and we did Joseph and His Technicolor Dreamcoat, and The Lion King, and Lord of the Rings, and yeah, and we did them every Friday night, and all week we were rehearsing. So we would be doing read-throughs, run-throughs, about 3 or 4 dress rehearsals. It really gave us something to focus on because there was no shape to our days or weeks. The world was stopped. Do you remember that, Ollie? When the world stopped?
Yes.
The pandemic. And, you know, it was almost as if the world was going round on this crazy merry-go-round, and all of a sudden it stopped, and we were allowed to get off. And a lot of us needed to stop. You know, that's one of the few positive things that came out of the pandemic, is that we were allowed to stop. And so, but there was no shape to our day. Rubes and I weren't seeing anybody. We were hiding away here, and we just thought, let's give ourselves a project. We need to focus on something. So we came up with this idea of Friday night musicals.
I just think it's genius. You set up the most basic rep of all time. It was like you were in a little ark.
Yeah, and we did go a bit overboard. At one point, I ordered the smoke machine and disco lights, and
That's quite right too. How completely brilliant. Which do you think was your best performance, Rubes? Which one do you think was the biggest? Which one did you enjoy the most?
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. And did you play all the characters? You were Frodo.
He's got toys with all the different characters, so they were part of it. But he was dressed up in his Frodo cloak.
Wonderful.
Rubes made all the scenery.
Were you Gandalf the Grey?
I was Gandalf the Grey. Yeah, I'm always Gandalf the Grey. But I was never in it. It was always a one-man show because I was behind the camera.
Ah, okay.
So I was never in it. It was all all about Rubes, wasn't it, Rubes?
Yeah. Yeah. Ollie, if you were going to do a musical for us, what would you do? What would you choose?
Mummy.
Which would be your best song?
Lay All Your Love on Me.
Would you give us could you sing it a bit now?
No.
No.
It's about singing.
Yeah, you're right. You are right.
Lay all your love on me.
Mom!
We had a thing where we went into the pet shop and there was a lady there who was a bit depressed. And what song did you sing? Sweet Caroline?
No.
What was it in the pet shop? Do you remember? The lady that wanted to
My Way.
My Way. Yeah. We had everyone in the pet shop doing a performance, an impromptu performance of My Way. And they still talk about it in the pet shop.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's what they need. People just need love and laughter and fun in their lives. And being with Rubes and Ollie, that lets us, it reminds us that we can be fun and silly and not have to worry about it. We lose
an excuse to not conform.
Exactly.
That's the thing that's very freeing, really.
Yeah.
Ollie, have you got any questions for Reuben?
Yes. So, Reuben, when you got together with your brother, and how, why did you live by yourself?
Now, why is he living by himself now?
Yeah.
When he could be living with his brother? That's a really, really good question. Yeah, so you could have chosen to live together forever, but you've chosen to live on your own, Rubes. Why did you choose that?
Why do you not want to live with us, Rubes? Because we live in Yeah,
Ah,
we live in Spain.
so Manny
Yeah.
lives in Spain.
Yeah.
Ollie's a bit Spanish. Manny lives in Spain, and
It's a long, it's a
it's
plain,
an
plain.
aeroplane ride. And Reuben wants to stay in England,
Yeah.
so that's why he chose to have his own place.
Yeah.
His house, his rules.
Yes.
His house, his rules.
Yeah.
Sometimes you find it when he comes back to stay with us, you find it a bit difficult, don't you, Rubes? A little bit. A little bit, yeah. Because in his own house, he's king of the roost, and when he comes here, it's our house, our rules. And Reuben is who wants to be independent. He lived with us for 7 years, but as wonderful as it wasn't very natural for Reuben to live our life. And I think it's really important that Ollie, you live the life you want to live independently. Rubes, we want Rubes to be happy and independent. We miss him, of course we do. And we come and see him as often as we can. Like now, we're together in Dorset, and we've got a week together, haven't we, Rubes? So but we think Rubes will be happier in his own life, a life that he's created for himself with his own friends, his own contacts. Yeah. So yeah, that's why. And I think if we lived in England, then maybe Reuben would live with us. But we live in Spain. Rubes, you don't speak Spanish, do you? Do you want to learn Spanish?
You speak Spanish, Ollie?
Yes.
Hola.
Oh, yeah. Hola.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
And also, Ollie.
Me llamo Ollie.
You're basically fluent. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, but that's why I think Reuben didn't want to live with us. Great question, Ollie, but it's because we live in Spain. We live far away, and you love England, don't you, Rubes?
Yeah. So there's 2 questions I would want to say. So, where did you live in Spain?
We live near a city called Malaga.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
It's near the Rio Bermejo.
Yeah.
Which is the Bermejo River, but the Bermejo River that you're named after.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. As now, where do you live now in England?
I don't live in England. I still live in Spain, but we come back to see Rubes. Rubes lives in Dorset. Yeah. In North Dorset, and so we come back and see as often as we can.
Is that your flat that you're in now, Rubes?
No, this is the house. This is the house where we're in. This is the cottage.
This is the cottage. And does it feel very special to come back there?
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? It really does. Fox and Breedy, yeah. Fox is where Reuben lives now, and he loves being there, but he also loves being here. This was because it was a very difficult time initially, and we got through it. So we have happy memories of this house. And to spend 26 weeks together, just the two of us here, that was an amazing time. Yeah. And we'll probably never ever get that time again.
Yeah, and that's half a year, over half a year.
Yeah. Half a year.
So one of the catchphrases of the book is little by little.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Little by little. Because Reuben had so far to go to get better. And it's really easily signified, easily explained in a walk. So this cottage is about a mile from the sea. And before Reuben was poorly, Ollie, he used to be able to walk to the sea easily without even thinking about it. Let's go to the beach. And he would walk there. But when he was ill, he hadn't moved for a long time and his muscles were wasted. He hadn't been eating very well, so his diet had been poor, so his muscles were weak, his body was weak. And when we tried to go for a walk on that first day, we only managed to go about 100 meters. And then Reuben stopped and said, "I'm tired, brother." And we turned around and went home. But before we turned around, they said, "Right, Rubes, we can go home and we can rest, but tomorrow we're going to come back to this spot and we're going to go a little bit further.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, brother, little by little.
Yeah.
And so every single day we would just go a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further, until after several weeks, because it wasn't quick, it wasn't a quick recovery. After several weeks,
Yeah.
we managed to walk all the way to the sea, didn't we, Rubes? All the way. Yeah. So little by little was our catchphrase for Ruben's recovery. My other half, who's just come in, and that's who Ruben was waving at, he was trying to distract him and put him off. He said before I left to bro-nap Ruben, he said, this is not going to be a quick fix. And it is difficult, someone like Rubes, there have been many, many times in his life that we've had to take difficult decisions. And sometimes Rubes knows what's best for him, and sometimes you need help taking decisions, don't you? Oh, you need
He
help
doesn't think so.
to make choices. No? Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah, we had
Actually,
to
a
help.
huge amount of generosity in letting people help you as well, isn't there, Rubes? There is. There is.
Are you happy now, Rubes? Do you love your new house?
Rubes. Absolutely tremendous.
He's home.
He's home.
Yeah. And that's, I think, there's the most burning question of the book, and Sally, of you as a parent and other siblings that are listening, and people like Haley who we want to say a huge hi to, and we'd love you to be able to talk about the book in the future when you've read it. But it is a big question, and I think the biggest question for you and for us is where is going to be Ollie's home? Where is going to be Natty's home? Where is Ruben's home? And this book really is the search for Ruben's home.
Yeah.
And I'd always thought that his home was going to be with me and my other half. He'd lived with us for 7 years, and we didn't want that to change. But life got in the way. Ruben got poorly, then the pandemic hit, and life throws us all these different challenges, and it doesn't always work out as we'd imagined in our minds. So that's what this book's about, is helping Ruben to find his own home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really tough, and it's one of those things that gets pushed in your face the moment you have your child with a disability. And I think I've got not as far as you guys have, but I got, Ollie was born, I was thinking I'm going to help him to live. Independence seemed incredibly important.
Yeah.
It's a really, really important part. Are you bored? Am I boring you?
Yeah.
You can go and watch telly if you want. Right. Okay, off you go then. That's fine. Independence. Okay. Say bye, everyone.
Bye, Ollie.
Yeah, and so this last question that
Yeah.
I want to say is, so when you lived in Spain, and when now you lived in England, that's all I hear saying. So why did you choose to live in England?
Why did Reuben choose to live in England? Yeah, it's a good question. Why did Reuben choose to live in England and not with family in Spain?
Very good question, Ollie.
He said,
and the answer, I am home.
So Reuben was brought up in England.
Yeah,
I think mainly. Was he born? Were you born in England? And he's grown up in England and come to school in England, and his mum and dad are in England.
Yeah.
And so he chose to be where feels like home. And that's England, not Spain. Even though he loves his brother, and his brother is his family, his brother is not his home. Do you understand? So if Thomas went to live in Sweden, would you want to go and live with Tom in Sweden, or would you want to stay in England with Waitrose?
Well, I'd rather lived in England.
You'd rather live in England, and that's what Reuben's decided.
Yeah.
Okay, go and play FIFA if you want.
All right.
Want to? Okay.
Ollie, thank you for joining us. Amazing to meet you, buddy.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Reuben.
Yeah, what I was
Oh.
going to say was, at the beginning when Ollie was born, it seemed like independence was very, very important. And it was important that I, hot housed him and did all the therapies and all the rest of it so he could be independent. And then I remember I was on a job with a very brilliant actor who lives alone in a house full of art in Bloomsbury. And he said, "What do you want for Ollie?" And I said, "Oh, I want him to have a home. I want him to live alone and have or live independently and have a job." And he said, "What? And be like me?" And I thought, gosh, yes, you are really lonely. You live on your own, but you are really lonely. And I started to see things differently and started to realize that none of us are truly independent anyway. We're all interdependent. We're all dependent on each other. So that's where I am at the moment. I'm thinking, well, independence is not, I don't need to kill myself to get Ollie independent. But you've gone through that stage, gone back to, yes, independence is really, really important.
Yeah. And Reuben notices where he is, he calls the people there my people, don't you, Reuben? And I think he was living with our people, with my people for a while, for several years, and he wanted to know what it was like to have his own people, but they were his. And so I think Reuben is very proud of the fact that he's living by himself, living in Fox, he has help, it's assisted living, but he's living by himself. And you're happy there, aren't you, Rubes? And every time I drop him off there, he goes, "I'm home, brother."
Oh.
And what you said earlier, Sally, we thought that Reuben would live with us, and it was a really tough decision to make. We almost, when he started getting better, we almost took him back to Spain, but he was very clear that Spain was our home and not his, and so it wasn't easy to find either. This is not an easy solution to find.
Let's be honest, the welfare, social care is in crisis in this country.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's, to us who have family members who are vulnerable, it seems like there's a new story every day of terrible abuse and disability hate crime figures rising. It feels very scary, the idea of releasing your beloved brother or son or sister or auntie or cousin into the hands of people who are very badly paid and who might be doing the job for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
just feels very scary. You've put that very well in the book. It's very clear that struggle for me. It was painful reading the book because I so felt your pain and anxiety at making these decisions. And there were quite a few places you looked at, weren't there?
Yeah, we looked at all sorts of different schemes, all sorts of different locations. In the end, we found a house which wasn't where we wanted Reuben to be, but it was the best setup for him. And so we realized that actually for Rube's location wasn't that important. It was more about the individual house and the help that he would have and the services available for him in that place. So Rube's, we had to ask him to go and live in a new place. I think he was very, very brave. And one of the things, his drawings all the way through the book, the most common drawing was lions all over the place. That one, and there's one even on the back of the book, look, little lion there. And one of the first reviews of the book was from the bookseller, and Caroline Sanderson said that Reuben is as brave and courageous as the lions he loves to draw. And I think that Reuben, having not been very well and having been in a very difficult situation, when we did find the house and his new home, I think he was very brave to be willing to go there and to be willing to set up his own life and connections again, starting from scratch. And that moment when I drove away, Sally, when you could imagine what it was like when I had to leave him there and go back to my life in Spain. At some point, I had to let him be. I had to trust that he was going to fly. And left him in the care home and drove away. And on that day, Reuben drew me a beautiful bunch of flowers. He couldn't buy them because he didn't know where to buy them, but he drew me a bunch of flowers. And there, that's right at the very end of the book. And he wrote on the flowers, "No matter where I go, you will always be my brother. Emotional for you. And miss you, brother. Love you."
Oh.
And that was him saying to me, "I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. I don't want you to worry about me because I've found my home."
So, Reuben, how did you decide to do the book with Manni?
Just happened, as if by magic. Reuben's got a magic wand.
Yeah.
And he just waves his magic wand when he wants something to happen.
But this is the difficult question, isn't it? You and I, Manni, have had a conversation about this, that it's, you know, really important that when that we mustn't just write about people. We must give them their own space and their own voice, and let our family members have some agency and autonomy in the process. So it's a sort of fraught with problems, the idea of writing a memoir of the two of you.
Yeah.
How did you think that through, and how did you propose the idea to Reuben, and how did he give consent?
Well, when Reuben was nonverbal, and he is talking more now, his voice is still very quiet, but he's talking a lot more now. But when he was totally nonverbal, his only communication with me was through his drawings. And every single night for 26 weeks, he would give me one of his drawings. And there was a lot of broken hearts, a lot of lions, a lot of Whoopi Goldbergs, a lot of jumping jack flashes, and a lot of sister acts, and all of Reuben's favorite films. And he was expressing himself on the page, and I would look at them on a daily occasion and file them away. And I remember one afternoon, several weeks into our lockdown, I got them all out and put them on the floor in the kitchen. And it's the first time I'd seen them as a collective. And I suddenly thought, wow, there's something going on here. You know, I can try and explain this with words, and Reuben's explaining it with his drawings. And I didn't want to write about it at first because we were living through such a painful process. I didn't know whether we were going to get Rubes back. I didn't know whether he was going to get better.
Are you a diarist? Were you keeping a diary?
I was writing. I've always written. I was writing another book, and I finished it on the 5th of February and went for a socially distanced walk with a friend. And it was a horrible stormy day, and we got a rainbow on the beach. And he said to me, "That's for you." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you know what they say, as soon as you finish one book, you've got to start the next." And I said to him, "Seriously?" And he said, "Yeah, and you know exactly what you need to write." And I was reluctant to start because we were already in a very desperate place. And as you know, writing can be a very painful process and complicated process. But I took him at his word and encouraged Reuben to keep drawing and keep expressing himself on the page. And the very next morning, picked up a notebook, wrote "Brother, do you love me" on the front page. And it started flowing. And we were writing it and drawing it in real time, and neither of us wanted it to have a happy ending. Neither of us wanted it to have a sad ending. We both wanted it to have a happy ending. So it was almost like through Reuben's drawings and my writing, we were willing the narrative to a happy place. And it helped give us courage. It helped both of us push on through and try and find a solution. And it didn't come until very, very late, this place that we found for Rubes. We found it really in the last few weeks. And up until April, we still didn't know where Rube was going to live. And then as we pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, eventually everything fell into place. And Reuben found his new home. But it was a magical process. And when I'd finished writing it, we found a publisher locally we found them online, but they were only just up the road, 3.5 miles away from the cottage. And so we met in their garden, socially distanced again. I took my manuscript.
So you found a publisher locally?
Yeah, I Facebooked it and said, guys, help me, you know, friends around the world. Does anybody know a publisher? Does anybody know an agent? I've been trying for months with my other book. And through a friend in university, we were introduced to a publisher who was 3.5 miles up the road. And I wrote them an email, and we exchanged emails and met them 2 days later, socially distanced, coffee and croissants in their garden. I took my manuscript and Reuben took 200 of his drawings. It's a husband.
Reuben kind of started the book in a way then.
Yeah.
Reuben,
Yeah.
you started the book really with your drawings.
Yeah.
They're beautiful, Reuben. They're beautiful.
Yeah, they really are. And see, this is Reuben's mission. See there, the mission.
Yes.
We asked Reuben, you know, what do you want for the book? And he said his mission for the book was to make everyone and the world emotional.
Well, it does that.
Isn't that right, Reuben?
And I think to soften up people's hearts is a very valiant mission indeed.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Well, it was a privilege to live, even though it didn't feel like it at the time. And ultimately, it was a really privilege to write. And Little Toller were very adamant that Reuben's drawings shouldn't just be in one section of the book, that they should be throughout the manuscript. And it was a very expensive decision to take when the prices of, you know, everything and printing is exorbitant at the moment. But Reuben's drawings are throughout the book, and even the end papers are his daily tick sheets of when we were in lockdown, of everything that he would do and eat. So, you know, you were saying about the responsibility of making sure that Reuben had a narrative voice. And that's something that people have taken away from the book, that Reuben is silent throughout most of the book, but you still hear his voice.
Yes.
Very, very present.
So the book ends in 2021. It's now 2023. How has life moved on for both of you?
Rubes has been in Fox for 2 years now, Rubes. Yeah. I mean, are you happy there? Yeah. Do you miss us? Yeah. Do you want to come back and live in Spain? No, he's very adamant.
You told me an amazing story that, because Rubes hadn't really been talking, and then you embarked on your book tour, and you got to the grand finale of the book tour, Hey on Why. And did you speak there for the first time, Rubes? Is that right?
Someone said to me, what do you hope for this book? And I said, I just hope it gives Reuben his voice back. And it was actually the first time he spoke on the microphone was Bridport Literary Festival in our local town here. And I think it was the 8th of November. And we always gave Reuben a microphone just in case, and he never used it. And that night, there were lots of people in the audience that knew him and loved him. And that night, he just picked up the microphone and started talking. It was really amazing. It was a really special moment. And
it seems like Rubes doesn't need words to express himself, but was that a sign you were feeling better, Rubes, starting to talk again? Yeah. I
think you are. It was a very slow recovery, but the book has been part of Reuben's recovery. The book tour that we did was a massive part of Reuben's recovery, and it was also the return of Reuben's pride. Reuben had lost his sense of purpose, really, and he had nothing to be proud of. And now, when he sees this book, I'll never forget the first day he saw a copy of it, and I gave it to him, and he just, what did you do, Rubes?
Yeah.
And every time he sees it in a shop window or someone shows it to him, you can just see him burst with pride.
Well, it's been a massive success. People have been really, really affected by it.
Yeah.
Lots of people are outside the Down syndrome community. Why do you think that is? Why do they tell you it is?
Because I think I'm very honest, and I make myself very vulnerable. I just thought, well, I may as well show myself warts and all. I've got nothing to lose. And it was a very real struggle, and I didn't glamorize it. No. I didn't hide the day-to-day grueling struggles. And there were a couple of times when I failed miserably and was the carer that couldn't care. What was that?
That's the dog, sorry.
Dog coughing. Don't worry, it's fine.
I know you're a dog family. You're a dog family as well.
Yeah, we've got dogs, and so we don't worry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was that fact that we were able to really be very real and very honest. And in the book events that we did, there was a real sense of honesty and vulnerability in the room, and lots of people were very affected by it, ourselves included. And we heard from several people that were quite disarmed by how raw this story is and how real it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It certainly is. It's frightening to think that, all the hard one. I mean, it's not easy to learn to talk, Rubes, is it? I mean, it's not easy. And then to forget it or to lose the ability to want to, that must have felt like a big mountain to climb for you, Rubes. Yeah.
Get your voice back.
But Frodo, Sam, and the gang made it to the top of the mountain. Yeah.
Well, and it wasn't with, Sally, it was Reuben and I together physically, but it was a huge collective effort.
Yes.
From an army of people who were looking after us from afar. They couldn't be with us physically, but they were doing everything they could by messages or cards or presents or phone calls or whatever they could. And I think that's why Reuben started speaking again on the 8th of November, is because he saw a room full of people that he loved. And he wanted to love them back.
Caring is it's a difficult thing sometimes for some people. And that's a big choice, to take 7 months out of your life to go and look after your brother. Was it hard, or was it just an absolute imperative?
I didn't think I had a choice, because I love Reuben so deeply that when I got that message, "Brother, do you love me?" I was in Spain with my partner, Jack, in the book. And I said to him, "Look what Reuben's just sent to me. What do I do?" And he said to me, "You know what you've got to do. You self-isolate for 10 days and you jump on a plane and you go and rescue him." And we didn't know how long it was going to take. It took 26 weeks. That's half a year.
And in the book, you're talking about running out of money and all the anxieties.
I worked in travel, and my business was teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. I had to sell the assets off, and I had no money coming through. We had this house, which is Jack's house, and this is an incredible place for us to be. We were so cocooned here. We felt safe. It was a wonderful, beautiful place to be. But also I talk in the book that it doesn't matter how beautiful a place is, but if you're not feeling the beauty inside, then the world is an ugly place. But we're very grateful that we were able to be here. And it was a small crawl back to recovery. And as you said earlier on, Sally, that I had to sort of break myself again to understand how broken Reuben was, take myself to a very deep place, and both of us had to find our way home together. So it was a homecoming for Rubes, but it was also a homecoming for me.
I hope you feel in a better place after having done the breaking.
Yeah. You can smash something down. It's always different when you rebuild it, but it's stronger. And I'm back living in Spain, and I miss Reuben terribly, but I don't worry about him anymore. And this is a key thing. When I found his place, a mother of another tenant asked to see me, and she called me over and she said, if you're thinking about bringing your brother to live here, I just want you to know that I'm a single mum, and I've worried about my son for his entire life. And I know that tomorrow morning I'll be able to walk away from this place, drive away from this place, and not have to worry about him anymore. She was so confident in the setup. Now, where Rubes is, the care provider is very responsible. It hasn't been an easy ride. We've had problems, teething problems, lots of staff coming and going. It's never going to be an easy solution. It's always a constant, process of making sure that Reuben is being looked after as he deserves. But there is willing. There are wonderful people out there. I think caring is a gift, and we should see it that way. And thankfully, Reuben's got some people with him now that are gifted carers. They understand what it is. They understand Reuben's backstory, where he was, where he wants to be, and they're helping him regain his confidence. And even just the day before yesterday, Rubes, you did something really amazing, didn't you? Rubes travelled up to London from Dorset on the train by himself. Yay! First independent travel since his breakdown, and he was absolutely fine. We were all worried about him. They were worried getting him on the train. I was in London waiting for him and was worried. And he sent me a text message and he said, "Get ready, brother. I'm nearly there. Be emotional." And so
that is a very good place to end it. Get ready, world. The paperback's nearly out.
Yes.
You'll be emotional.
Yeah.
It's a fabulous book. You've got a wonderful relationship. The world is much, much richer for you having allowed us a little window into it. Reuben, you're a fabulous artist. I loved your drawings. And thank you so much for talking to us.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Take care.
Take care. Miranda Hart. Yeah, it's another great woman.
Lots of love. Thank you, Sally. Bye. Thank you. That was such a pleasure. Bye-bye.